Hey, delivery.
Safe travels, my friend.
Thanks, man.
Oh, no, I was talking to the sub, but safe travels to you, too.
Wasn't a wealthy kid. As a teen, his father dropped him off at a sub shop and told him, "Don't come home until you have a job." No stranger to hard work, Peter didn't just get the job, he turned the shop into America's fastest growing chain with over $1 billion in sales. But success didn't happen overnight. Peter had to walk away from a career in law and confront the scariest moment of his life. The start of America's favorite sandwich. 31 years before Jersey Mike's Subs started franchising. In 1956, Mike Ingravallo opened an authentic Italian shop in the seaside town of Point Pleasant, New Jersey. He named the shop after him and focused on selling Italian-style subs. They were made with freshly baked bread and sliced meats and made with a blend of red wine vinegar and olive oil. It was considered a new product to many Americans even though the earliest record dates back to the early 1900s. Still, Point Pleasant locals and visitors were hooked on Mike's Subs. In the summer, they would wait in lines that snaked outside the door. It wasn't long until Mike's Subs was seen as a hot commodity and a lucrative business opportunity. One day, a man named Edmund Navicus convinced Mike to sell the shop to him. Later, he sold the shop to two brothers named Victor and Frank Merlot. By the 1970s, the Merlot brothers were making around 1,000 subs a day, bringing in $40,000 a week in today's dollars. But that changed when a teenager named Peter Cancro came around, taking a chance on a kid. 27 years before Jersey Mike's Subs expanded to 100 stores. In 1971, Peter Cancro was a student at Point Pleasant Beach High School, a few blocks away from Mike's Subs. He spent most of his time playing football, but he was still expected to earn a few bucks on his own, like his brother John who worked at Mike's Subs. One day, the Merlot brothers realized they needed more help at the shop. "What about your brother, Peter?" they asked John. "I know he'll work hard, but I'm not sure how bright he is," John told them. Still, the Merlot brothers encouraged John to let Peter know that they were interested in meeting him. When Peter found out, he didn't hesitate to give it a try. When his father dropped him off at Mike's Subs for his interview, he told him, "Don't come home until you have a job." Fortunately, Peter went home that night. The Merlot brothers hired Peter as a part-time employee and entrusted almost every task to him. At 14 years old, he was made to feel like an adult and that his voice mattered. It was clear to me right away that it was a family culture, that everyone raised each other up together. This is the most critical thing preached to all owners and employees, that they must commit to their people and treat them with respect. Once people feel they are truly part of something, they will always stay with you. From then on, Peter proved he was worth taking a chance on and that he was just getting started when it came to reaching his full potential. Risking it all for a sub shop. 31 years before Jersey Mike's Subs expanded to 300 stores. A few years later, Peter was a senior in high school and considered a hotshot. He was nominated as the class president, received a college football scholarship from the University of North Carolina, and planned on studying law. But one day, all of his aspirations came to a halt after receiving some shocking news. "The Merlot brothers are selling Mike's Subs," his mother told him. Peter was stunned, and even more so by what his mother said next. "Why don't you buy it?" she suggested. Peter laughed as he walked up the stairs. After all, he was still a teen. But by the time he reached the top, his instincts told him to at least give it a try. The next day, he skipped school and convinced the Merlot brothers to hold off from selling the shop for a week. Afterwards, he started knocking on strangers' doors to raise $125,000, around $1 million in today's dollars. Everyone wondered why he wasn't in class, and when they found out why, they told him he was ruining his life. By Friday, one man offered to invest under one condition. He and Peter would become 50-50 partners. Eager to venture on his own, Peter turned down his offer and started to think of a plan B. He decided to get help from his community instead and immediately thought of Rod Smith, his football coach who is also a banker. By then, it was Sunday, just after 9 p.m., but Peter had a gut feeling that he had to see Rod that evening. After ringing his doorbell, Rod's wife, Janet, opened the door and ushered him into the living room. Seated in an armchair, Rod was surprised to see his quarterback walk into his living room on a Sunday evening. He must be in trouble, Rod thought to himself. Peter explained that he missed all his classes the past week because he was trying to raise money to buy Mike subs. "There's no time to lose," Peter told him as he opened a folder and laid out the shop's gross profits and earning potentials. After looking over the details, Rod sat back in his chair and gave it some thought. "I think I can do something," he told Peter. After trusting his instincts, Peter got closer to achieving his goal, even though his first plan didn't work out. Proving the doubters wrong, 24 years before Jersey Mike subs expanded to 500 stores. "You want to lend a high school student $125,000? Rod's team questioned. Rod nodded. "I know he'll get the ball across the goal line," he told everyone, knowing that Peter wouldn't give up when it came to sports or business. His faith in Peter was so convincing that he got him a loan with a 7-year payback plan. At just 17 years old, Peter became the owner of Mike Subs. He turned down his football scholarship and walked away from a career in law, but something told him it was worth the trade-off and he wouldn't fail. Throughout the rest of the school year, he worked 7 days a week, no fun at the beach, and often no classes. Still, he managed to get enough credits to graduate, but he didn't realize until later that full participation in gym was required. Instead of accepting the idea of failing, he came up with a medical excuse to explain his absence and managed to graduate. Afterwards, Peter continued to work at the shop every day and opened a second location. He later changed the name to Jersey Mike Subs to pay tribute to its roots. As the business thrived, the demand to expand grew nationwide. More people from all over the country were vacationing in Point Pleasant, and at the end of their stay, they would order Mike Subs to bring their sandwiches back home. "When are you coming to Ohio?" some would ask. "Or what about Florida?" others would plead. Only 1 year later, Peter gave in to their demands and started to franchise. The risk quickly paid off. Within just a few years, there were 35 stores. Every dime made was put back into the business to open more. Peter's work ethic set the standard for Jersey Mike Subs that helped it grow from a tiny shop into a franchise. The scariest moment yet, 27 years before Jersey Mike Subs reached over $1 billion in sales. Year after year, the number of locations rose, but in 1991, Peter found himself in hot water. A recession hit the US. By then, the company's expenses increased from growing too fast. There was no money left in the bank, no reserves, nothing. The banking environment went south. It was the worst recession of my life. No one could borrow money. To keep the company afloat, Peter was forced to lay off 6 people in his office, including his brother. He also liquidated his 401k and sold anything considered a luxury. But the company was still sinking into bankruptcy. Peter had to float one bill to pay another to keep it from going into collections. I remember standing in our second store's 400 square foot office and thinking, it's over. Even though Peter felt defeated, he decided to keep trying. He worked 100 hours a week and visited each location's owner to ensure everything was done right. And he didn't hesitate to roll up his sleeve, clean the grill, or make the subs to help their staff. He also started focusing more on grassroots marketing by appearing on local radio stations and rolling out direct mail and door-to-door campaigns. You show up every day, and that's 9/10 of success, he would often say. Eventually, his resolve to keep trying paid off. Within 3 years, he managed to hire back all of the employees he laid off, and by 1998, the company managed to grow to 100 stores. Taking in the lesson learned, they survived when another recession hit the US in 2008. Today, they have 1,700 stores in 47 states, Canada, and Australia, bringing in $1 billion annually. They also continue to pay tributes to their roots. Every year, on the last Wednesday of March, they donate 100% of their sales. At the end of the day, around $7 million is donated to local charities. In an interview with Entrepreneur, Peter shared some of his secrets to success. Show up early, stay late. Make sure you've got great energy and be yourself. Don't try and pretend. People can see through that in a heartbeat. Also, tell everyone you can about your goals, and don't let your age deter you from them. This is the story of how a 17-year-old turned a tiny shop into America's fastest growing chain.